And it's just a story that I tell
You better
you.
listen to this story to Addison.
And I had a piece of paper in the arm like that, just plain paper. And he said, Ray, what is that? I said, you ain't gonna believe it, Frank. But I said, that's my ticket to heaven. He said, what? I said, yeah, that's my ticket to heaven. I said, you don't have one, do you? He said, no, I don't. I said, let me show you something. So I folded it like this right here. And I said, Frank, since you don't have a ticket, I said, I will give you part of my ticket. But I said, you've got to have your own relationship with the Lord. I said, my ticket won't get you into heaven. But I said, I'll give you part of mine. So I took and cut it off about like that right there. And I give it to him, and he just grabbed it and put it in his pocket. He said, but Ray, your ticket's a lot bigger than mine. I said, well, I'll give you some more of it. So I cut it off about like this right here. I give that to him, he put it in his pocket. I put mine in my pocket. He kept down being in meanness and stuff, and he fooled around and got killed in a car wreck. Went up before St. Peter, and St. Peter said, Frank, you gotta have a ticket to get into heaven. He said, I've got one an old man give me. He said, well, I'd be happy to look at it, but he said, that won't get you into heaven. But he said, I'd like to look at it. So he said, you've got it all messed up, so let me straighten it out. So he got it, St. Peter got to straightening it out, and he said, after I get it straightened out, he said, I will see what it says. He said, okay, I'll put that letter right there. I'll put this letter right here. He said, I'll put that letter right there. I'll put this one here. He said, I will put this letter here like here. He said, this one I will put here. He said, Frank, it really ain't looking good for you. He said, I told you couldn't get in on someone else's ticket. He said, do you know what that right there spells? He said, it spells hell. He said, that's where you're headed to, because you don't have the real ticket to get into heaven. A few years later, I died. I went up before Jesus and St. Peter, and he said, Ray, it's good to see you up here, but you gotta have a ticket to get in this place. I said, I've got mine. He said, let me see it. I said, okay. I said, I believed in Jesus many years ago, and I believed that he died on the cross for me and that he saved me. And I said, right, here's my ticket. He said, let me open it up and see what you got, Ray. He said, oh yes. He said, Ray, that is exactly what it takes for you to get into heaven. Being born again and believing that Jesus died on the cross. So that's it. You may not like that, but for some reason, probably I told that today. She wanted me to. And if there's some of you that's not really got a good, close relationship with the Lord, you think about it. Someday you'll stand before him, and what you've done with Jesus will determine where you spend eternity.